Hi. The private rented sector continues to be a hotbed of discussion and debate at the moment. Since my last update, the DCLG has released more consultations about topics affecting the industry. You may recall us asking for your input to provide a collective response to these. I'll talk through some of these things that you told us later in the video. Another topic I'll be touching on is the new minimum energy efficiency standards, which start coming into force in April 2018. I'll also be talking about our new Rent Index, the most comprehensive report on rental costs in the UK. And finally, I'll be covering some exciting changes you'll soon be seeing with our service. The first of 3 recent government calls for information was the DCLG's Protecting Consumers in the Letting and Managing Agent Market consultation. We received a good response to this survey and presented these responses to the DCLG to help them gain a clearer picture of the market view. The key theme that came across in the responses was that a new form of regulation is required, one that incorporates training and qualification for agents and better enforced legislation. Minimum entry requirements to operate as a letting agent and fit and proper person tests were also proposed. Around 80% of respondents also believed a code of practice was essential as part of any regulatory approach. The second of our surveys was for an inquiry run by the Commons Select Committee for Communities and Local Government regarding combating rogue landlords. Respondents generally felt that councils had the powers to enforce regulations, but lacked either the resource or the desire to enforce them. Some respondents also observed that local councils had their own rules, and as a result standards were unequal across the country, something that could be addressed by a national enforcement agency. Most recently, we have had the DCLG's consultation on mandatory client money protection schemes for property agents. This is an issue that is close to our hearts. The benefits of client money protection are demonstrated through the Safe Agent campaign, which we have been fully supportive of and welcome the call for client money protection to be made mandatory. We collated over 1,000 responses to our recent survey, enabling us to provide the DCLG with a collective response. There was strong support for a market-led scheme approved by the government. Respondents also indicated that a scheme needed to have specific requirements imposed in order to make the regulations robust and also to ensure sufficient cover is held. There was, however, a general feeling that this was a further attack on letting agents and landlords, when the government should perhaps also be looking at dealing with rogue tenants. From April 2018, landlords of privately rented domestic and non-domestic properties in England and Wales must ensure that their properties reach at least an Energy Performance Certificate rating of E before granting a new tenancy to new or existing tenants. These requirements will then apply to all private rented properties in England and Wales by 2020 for domestic properties and 2023 for non-domestic ones. The government has released guidelines for how the laws are to be enforced, and these can be found by clicking the link in the description of this video. At the end of last year, we released the first iteration of the DPS Rent Index. Our position as the largest provider of deposit protection in the UK gives us a unique insight into the trends in the private rented sector. That's why we were delighted to announce the launch of the index. We've worked with leading economists, Professor Joe Nellis and Professor Caterina Figuera, to develop the index, which has the capacity to inform the rental housing market and shape both public policy and investor decision making, in the same way that the house price indices do for the owner-occupied housing market. Over the last 10 years, there's been a continuing trend of rent increases across the UK, year on year, despite the global financial crisis. This saw London's 3.47% compound annual growth rate representing the biggest regional increase, and a 1.12% compound annual growth rate experienced in the North East as the smallest. The average UK rent in the third quarter of 2017 was 25% higher than it was a decade ago, and now represents a third of the median monthly salary. Throughout this period, the PRS has continued to grow, and it's forecast to represent 25% of the UK housing stock by 2020. For a closer look at the DPS Rent Index, which includes detailed analysis of each region of the country, follow the link in the description of this video. 2018 is going to be a very exciting year for the DPS. We've been busy making some big changes to our processes and we'll be rolling them out from January. With a brand new website, we've redeveloped everything we do from the ground up, using customer feedback as the basis for the changes that we've made. We've redesigned everything from repayment IDs to lead tenants, and we'll be enabling multiple logins for agents under a single account. There's also going to be an online upload portal for evidence, which will make the dispute process far easier to use. All these changes were designed to make things easier for you, the end user. We're really excited to make these changes and can't wait to share them with you. For more information, click the link in the description of this video. So that's it for now, apart from wishing you all a very merry festive period and a happy new year.